Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So here I have another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's just go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Visconti Belgica, we have a Visconti Ecstasy d'Oud, we have a Visconti Opera Master Luna, we have a Visconti Opera Master River Thames, we have a Pilot Custom Urushi Vermilion, we have an Omas Arte Italiana Paragon Grande in the Arco Brown, we have an Armando Simoni Club Il Gladiatore, we have a Visconti Manhattan Arco, we have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the King Cobra, and then we have, last but not least, the Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Vulcan's Forge. So this is the first pen that I have inked up this week, and I also had this inked up last week. There's a couple of pens here that I had inked up last week as well. This is the Visconti Belgica, and I try not to waste ink as much as possible. So this is a pen that actually holds around 2.5 milliliters of ink because it has a power vac and it's a double reservoir. But Belgica is actually a commemorative pen that Visconti made to really signify the national or sovereign state of Belgium becoming a sovereign state. And you can see there it has a crown and a lion's crest on that overlay. It's a very stunning pen, and this pen is a 18 karat gold broad nib, my only 18 karat gold broad nib at the moment, but this is a lovely pen to write with. Now it is, I don't know if you can see that there, number 25 of 175, but this is a limited edition pen of 175, which is actually a somewhat small run of pens. The next pen I have inked up is the Visconti Ecstasy d'Oud, and this is really one of my favourite pens. It has this lovely overlay here. It's a vermeil overlay, so vermeil normally means that it's a silver and it's coated or plated with gold, so that's what this is. You have this cage here where you would put some cotton fluff or cotton wool in there, and then you unscrew the blind cap here, and it has a compartment here to hold perfume, and then you have this little glass dabber. You dab that in, you dab in here to scent the pen, and it's quite an interesting pen, I have to say. It's certainly sort of, I've got a few pens like this and they're all from Visconti, but it is quite an interesting pen. So the reason why I love this pen is the length. It's not a sort of heavy pen, but it does come with a 23 karat palladium medium nib, and if I get that focus a bit more there, you'll see there that it's got a standard ABS plastic feed, but also the downside of this is because of the perfume compartment is it has an old style push and pull converter, so that really doesn't hold a lot of ink, around about 0.5, 0.6, maybe even 0.7 milliliters of ink. It doesn't hold a huge capacity, but I love it. I love how wet the pen writes. I love just how it writes, and it's got a bouncy palladium nib, and I like bouncy nibs. The next pen I have inked up is the Visconti Opera Master, and this is the Luna, and this was a Goulet exclusive, and this is actually made from the same blue material, I believe, as the Daedalus, although this has a lot more dust, silver dust inside the body to make it sparkle, and hopefully you can see that on camera. I'm just about seeing that there. You'll see that it is quite a sparkly pen. It's a really gorgeous pen. These Opera Masters are quite heavy. Has a My Pen finial. It's a power vac filler. It's a double reservoir. It holds a lot of ink, 2.5 milliliters of ink, and this one is 107 of 188 pens, and so that's 188 pens worldwide. Now I do have a 23 cat palladium nib, and this is a stub nib on there, so this is a very broad nib, but I like how it writes, and I have been going through a phase of nibs, like we do with inks and pens and how we like them. I've not been writing a lot with stub nibs, so I've been trying to write more with stub nibs lately. So I have that one inked up, I have this one as well, and again this is a Visconti Opera Master again, and this is the River Thames. So this is a limited edition run of 26 of 28. Now I had this one inked up last week as well. This comes in this beautiful sort of London fog type material there with the grey and blue. This is a limited edition run of 28 in each trim. So there's this light gold trim, there's a rose gold or yellow gold trim I should say, a rose gold trim, a rhodium coloured trim which is a silver, and then a ruthenium coloured trim which is a black. So there were 4 versions of this. Now this also has a 23 cat palladium nib, and this is again a stub nib there, but again I just love how it writes. I love the weight in my hands there. It's just a really nice size, nice weight pen for me. And you can see there that these first 4 pens are actually quite large. And then there's this one, and this is a pen that was on loan to me from Gary Dapperman, who comes to the UK South Fountain Pen Club. And this is a pen that I really do like, and it's a pen that I'm honestly thinking of picking up. It's a really beautiful pen. It's a Pilot Custom Urushi Vermilion, and it is a massive pen. It's a lovely sort of Urushi on, I believe, a brass barrel. Actually, it may not even be brass. It's got quite a weight to it. I believe it was brass. This comes with a lovely number 8 size nib, or I say 8 size, it's actually a number 30 as Pilot designate it, but it's the equivalent of a number 8 or number 9 Western nib, and it has an ebonite feed there. Now this does come with a Pilot Con 70 push button converter. Now I said, is it a brass barrel? It actually looks to be plastic or maybe ebonite. A lot of the Urushis tend to be ebonite. It does kind of feel ebonite-y to me. I think some of these did come with a brass barrel, but these are actually quite heavy though. So when I say heavy, they not as heavy as the Opera Masters, but I guess it feels more substantial rather than necessarily heavy, although the cap itself is quite heavy, but then you can see the thickness there of that cap is quite thick. So I have this pen inked up as well this week, and then the next pen here is the Omas, and this is the Arte Italiana Paragon Grande in the Arco Brown, and I do love the Arco Brown material a lot, and I decided that I would have this pen inked up. I just love seeing this on the desk when I pick up the pen or put the pen down, and I just love seeing how the light reflects off of this beautiful Arco Brown material. Now this is an Arte Italiana, so it has a vermeil, which is a silver with a gold plating section there, and you have the Omas nib. It's a medium nib with an ebonite feeder. But this really, again, it actually feels quite substantial and heavy in my hand. I just love writing with this pen, and I also have problems getting that pattern to match up there. But for me, that is a really nice pen. The next pen I have inked up is the Armando Simone Club Il Gladiatore, and this again is another Arco Brown. Now this one doesn't shine maybe as much as that Omas. you can see it there a little bit more on the sort of underside of the pen. But this, again, is a beautiful pen. Now, this is a unique pen because it has not only a Magic Flex nib, okay, you do get that on a lot of pens, but this has an anodized aluminium feed, which is a crazy design, but it was put onto this pen, and it works. It actually does work, because it has a massive ink capacity there in terms of holding ink. But this is, I believe, the only pen that I know of that has an aluminium feed. So quite an interesting pen there. This one is a piston filling pen, same as the Omas Arte Italiana Paragon Grande, but not like the other ASCs that typically tend to be more pneumatic fillers. But this is, again, I'm going to have problems lining up that pattern, getting the right clicks to line that up. There you go. But again, this is a beautiful, beautiful pen. So I have that one inked up as well. I also have the Visconti, and this is the Manhattan Arco. This actually was made for ASC by Visconti, but as you can see there, it is a Visconti. And the reason why it was made for ASC is because ASC bought up all of the Omas Arco Brown material when Omas went under. So they hold all of the material. ASC, now the pen family, asked Visconti if they would make a pen, and Visconti said yes, and they did. So this is the pen that came out of that. Now, this is also a limited edition pen, like most of these pens, but this comes with a Visconti nib, and it is a medium 18 karat gold nib. Now, this is one of the first gold nibs that Visconti made, or Bock made for Visconti, after the switch from the 23 karat palladium nibs to the 18 karat gold nibs. It does have an ebonite feeder there as well. It's a nice pen to hold, so I have that one inked up with me today as well, or this week. And then I have two Atelier Lusos. So this is an Atelier Luso, and this is a custom pen I had made, and this is the Andromeda in the King Cobra. And you can see here that King Cobra just adorning the cap. And I had two options. I could have had the King Cobra there on the cap, or I could have had it on the body. I actually thought having it on the cap would be a nicer touch. This comes with a steel Yovo nib. I could have had a gold nib on there, but I chose not to. I do like the Yovo broad steel nibs. It does have a little bit of a step down there to the section, and the section tends to be more on the thinner side because you want a seamless sort of screw here or seamless cap to body when you screw it up. So that's the reason why that section is on the narrower side. Otherwise, the body would probably have had to have been made a lot wider. And then last but not least, we also have another Atelier Luso Andromeda, and you can see there the Alpha Luso, and this is an Andromeda in the Vulcan's Forge. And I just love this orange material. Again, it's another custom pen, and I wanted a pen that I could put orange inks in. Most of the time, probably I'd say around 90% of the time, I match my ink colours to pen colours, and I like orange inks. I really do like orange inks, so I wanted an orange coloured pen, and I thought this would be a fitting pen to put an orange ink in. So again, this is a broad Yovo steel nib, and again, you do have a bit of a step down there. the step down doesn't bother me, honestly, even if I hold it up here a little bit higher, because I tend to not like sections that are very narrow. But I get on well with this. I honestly do. Now, you can't post these caps, obviously. They're not meant to be designed to post, and I wouldn't want to post them anyway. So that for me is a really lovely pen that I have inked up this week as well. And both of these are actually cartridge converter pens. So I think with that, let's go do a writing sample. So the first pen is the Visconti Belgica, and I think let's do an ink swatch here. Now this is a broad nib, it's an 18 karat gold nib, and I just love how this writes. So this is the Visconti, and you can see it's quite a wet nib, Belgica, and it is a broad 18 karat gold nib, and then the ink in here is Ackerman, and it's Dutch Masters, and it's Cerulean Blur Van Vermeer, which is a lovely sort of almost blue-black coloured ink. The next pen is the Visconti Ecstasy de Oud. So we'll do an ink swatch here. You can see here that this is actually quite a lovely wet writing nib. Quite a fire hose of a nib for a medium nib. So this is the Visconti Ecstasy de Oud, and it's a medium 23 karat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Diamine Majestic Purple, which is my absolute #1 favourite purple ink. The next pen is the Visconti Opera Master Luna. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a very broad nib. It's a 1.3mm stub nib, so it tends to be quite a broad nib. It's the Visconti Opera Master Luna, and it is a 1.3mm stub nib, and it's a 23 karat palladium nib. And then the ink in here today is Visconti Blue, which is actually quite a very nice sort of vibrant mid-tone blue. The next pen is the Visconti Opera Master River Thames. So we'll again do an ink swatch. And again, this is a 1.3mm stub nib, so it's quite a broad writing nib in the verticals, but not the horizontals. So it's a Visconti Opera Master River Thames, and it's a 1.3mm stub nib, and it's a 23 karat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is the Ackerman Delft's Blue, which is a lighter blue than what you can see. More of a, I guess, I think it's termed more of a washable blue. And you can see the difference here. It is a little bit more washed out and not as vibrant as the Visconti blue. The next pen is the Pilot Custom Urushi Vermilion. So let's do an ink swatch. Now, this is a fine medium nib, So this is a very fine nib, but I'm actually loving the nib quite a lot. So it's the Pilot Custom Urushi Vermilion, and it is a fine medium, and it is an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is inked up in this pen today is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, which for me is quite a lovely red ink. The next pen is the Omas Arte Italiana Paragon Grande in the Arco Brown. So let's do an ink swatch here. Now again, this is a more medium nib, but it's actually quite a wet writing nib as well. This is why I like this nib, because I do like my wet writing nibs a lot. So this is the Omas Arte Italiana, and this is the Paragon Grande Arco Brown, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. I'll just abbreviate that there because I'm running out of space. And then the ink in here is Akamon SBRE Brown, and that is one of my more favourite brown inks. The next pen is the Armando Simone Club Il Gladiatore in the Arco Brown. So we'll do an ink swatch, and you can see here that the colour already is actually quite different between these two nibs. So this is the ASC, and this is the Il Gladiatore. Just had to prime that a bit because it was running a little bit dry. Gladiatore, and it is a medium 18 karat gold nib. And you can see the difference when a nib runs dry versus when it is more wet. So I have had to prime this, so I probably will get a bit of feathering maybe on these letters here. And the ink in here is Akamon SBRE Brown. But again, I love that ink. It's a really good brown ink. The next pen is the Visconti Manhattan Arco. So let's do an ink swatch here. Now this I find, although it's an 18 karat gold nib, it writes more like a nail. It's a really, really firm nib. It actually feels more like a steel nib to me. So this is a Visconti Manhattan Arco, and it actually really writes more like a fine nib, although it is a medium nib and it's an 18 karat gold nib. But I still like how it writes. The strange thing is I like nibs of all types, whether or not I like most nibs in terms of the nib width, but I also like nibs if they are also rigid or stiff nibs, as well as bouncy, flexy nibs. Now the ink in here is also Akamon SBRE Brown, and again you can see here, because it's a narrower, more drier writing nib, that it actually looks just a little bit lighter. The next pen is the Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the King Cobra. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a heavy sheening ink, and I'll try and show you, I'll get the bottle out in a moment so you can see the bottle. So it's quite a very viscous ink, very thick, and that creates more sheen. So this is the Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and it's the King Cobra, and it's a broad still nib. It's a Yovo nib. If I can actually spell still, then I might actually be on a winner there. So the ink in here is Diamine, Skull, and Roses, but this can be quite a high sheening ink. And let me just show you the bottle here. So this is the bottle, and I don't know if you can pick any of that sheen up, but I'm seeing a lot of like reddish kind of sheen on around the threads there on that bottle and the top of the bottle. It is a very sheening ink. And then last but not least, we have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Vulcan's Forge. So let's do an ink swatch. Now, orange inks can be kind of dry, any like orangey or yellow inks. So this does tend to be a little bit more of a drier ink. Now it's an Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and it is the Vulcan's Forge, and again in a broad still nib. This time I will spell still correct. And the ink in here is Sailor Gentle Apricot, which is a really lovely orange ink. Now let me show you the bottle of this ink, because most orange inks will go crusty, and this is the bottle there. Now you might say, come on Dave, clean your bottles. It's a little bit difficult to actually clean the bottle when you have a lot of ink in there, so I have left that crusty for the time being, but those inks can crust up quite quickly, and then you'll see it there around the threads more. So it's just something to bear in mind. A lot of inks will go crusty. Probably the ink that I think have had less crustiness out of, although I can still get it, is Pelikan Edelstein Mandarin, which also is another lovely orange ink. So I think let's recap on these pens that are inked up one more time. We have a Visconti Belgica in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Akerman Dutch Masters Cerulean Bleu van Vermeer. We have a Visconti Ecstasy de Oud in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Diamine Majestic Purple. We have a Visconti Opera Master Luna in a 1.3mm 23 karat palladium stub nib inked up with Visconti Blue. We have a Visconti Opera Master River Thames in a 1.3mm 23 karat palladium stub nib inked up with Akerman Delft's Blue. We have a Pilot Custom Urushi Vermilion in a fine medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. We have an Omar's Arte Italiana Paragon Grande in the Arco Brown with a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Akerman SBRE Brown. We have an Armando Simoni Club Il Gladiatore in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Akerman SBRE Brown. And then we have a Visconti Manhattan Arco in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Akerman SBRE Brown. And you can see the slight difference here between these three browns, all being the same coloured ink. We then have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda King Cobra in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Skull and Roses. And then last but not least, we have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda Vulcan's Forge in a broad steel nib inked up with Sailor Gentle Apricot. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.